This is the second part of the video lectures for week 4 of Career and Employment Resources. At the end of part 1, we finished off with this in-depth look at how do I get there in sort of a snapshot, and it showed you that most often when clients get to this stage and they are setting a concrete goal, usually those goals will fall into one of two categories: education, training, or retraining, or job search. So let's have a little bit more of an in-depth look at each of these separate categories in terms of clients' goals and the things that we need to do. So for education, training, and retraining, some clients will decide that they want or need further education based on the occupational goals that they've set. They may have decided to change to a new career, so they will need some education or some credentials in order to transition to that career. They may want to return to an old career that they've been away from, and perhaps they may need to upgrade or develop new skills. Or they may need to take bridging. Maybe they've come from another country where they have a credential. They're an internationally educated professional, for example, and they would like to work in their field in Canada, but they do need to take bridging in order to be able to qualify to work in the field here. Options for training and education may include, of course, college or university programs. Could also include apprenticeships, going to school part-time, taking online courses. So, for example, someone might need to finish high school credits in order to then pursue a program that they would like to pursue or to upgrade their skills. Of course, we also have situations where some people can get training on the job in certain fields, and as I mentioned, special bridging programs. So these would all be options that you would explore with a client, and it's not that you need to know about absolutely everything that's available in each of these areas, but you do need to have some familiarity with them and some resources that fit with helping clients to make these choices, and I'll show you some of those resources in just a few minutes. It's really essential to ensure clients are choosing from recognized and certified education providers. Some of you may not know this, but public colleges and universities are regulated by the Ministry of Colleges and Universities. It used to be called Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities. I think they temporarily changed their name to something else, and then they decide to go back to Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities, and now they have just shortened it to what you see here. But it's important to recognize that many post-secondary institutions are regulated by this ministry. Anybody who is offering education through a private vocational school or college, calling themselves a college, must be registered with the province. And it is important to understand that there are no laws preventing anybody from opening up what they call a school. Opening up something that they call a college or something along those lines. So anybody can open up a training facility without necessarily being registered and regulated. Now, there are some private colleges out there that it's really important to impress on clients if they're deciding to look at private colleges and other privately run institutions to ensure that they are legitimate and that their diplomas and certificates are recognized by employers in the field. There have been, unfortunately, over the years, cases where someone decided to open up their own quote-unquote college or school and charged a lot of money for their programs and brought in a lot of people who paid lots of tuition to them. And then the students start their program and then show up one day, a few weeks or a few months in, and the doors are locked and the place has gone out of business. So there have been cases where that has happened, and it is really unfortunate. These students who would be going in those programs would not have any recourse and have no way to get back any of the tuition that they've paid. So it is really, really important to ensure that your clients do not get caught up in some kind of a scam. I'm not saying that private colleges are scams. There are lots of good ones out there that have been around for a while, but really, really important that you help clients to understand the difference and that they ensure that the places that they are thinking about going for education and that they're paying their tuition dollars to will in fact provide them the credential that they need and ensure that it is in fact recognized by employers in the field. There are a number of websites that can help clients with exploring educational options. These are all good websites that are current and up to date some of these you may have seen before. So the Government of Canada website does have a section on it that looks specifically at educational requirements and programs. The schoolfinder.com website is very good as well. All of these you can enter, for example, certain areas of interest or certain types of program, and they will produce a list. And of course, if you go to a lot of these different sites, they may produce some of the same lists, but sometimes there's additional information. So it's worth checking them all out. These next two sites, the Ontario Colleges website and the OUAC website, this is for colleges, this is for universities in Ontario. And again, they would be recommending programs that are recognized and regulated and validated in Ontario. We also have a page through the Government of Ontario website on taking apprenticeships. So again, that'd be something that you would want to know about. As part of your homework, these are all websites that you're going to check out and to look at and make notes about what they have available and what they're offering. Again, this is important to keep compiling your list into the 3 different categories so that you have it available to you when you're doing your case study, as well as when you're doing the test later on in the course. So when you're exploring websites and referring clients to those sites, so any that you might recommend beyond these ones you can count on being good sites and reliable information, current, up to date, all of that. Any others that you might refer clients to, you want to ensure, of course, that you are using the ABCD evaluation method, which you learned about a couple of weeks ago. So very important that you continue to use that framework when you're out in the field to ensure that the resources you're recommending for clients are accurate and current and up to date and so on. It's also important that you be as informed as you can about special bridging programs and other programs like Second Career, which can provide funding to clients for their training or education. You probably have heard about Second Career previously in other courses in the program. If you don't know much about it, this is the page that you can go and have a look. Again, you can't click on this in this actual video, but this link will be posted for you under week 4, so you can just cut and paste it into your browser from there. So it's important that you learn about the different types of programs. You might, in fact, working in the field, specialize in something like Second Career or other types of programs that are available. So the other aspect, of course, of how do I get there is to also help clients with job search. That's one of the 2 different directions when a client is in this stage that they might be going in. So after completing the work in steps 1 and 2, who am I and what's out there, some clients will be ready to begin a job search. And depending on your role in the field, you may be assisting them with this process, or you may refer them to someone else. I've talked previously about the role of the job developer, where usually they're working mainly in the how do I get there stage. So in some agencies, someone might work with a client to work through the who am I part of the model, and then the what's out there part of the model. And when they feel the client has made a choice or a decision and they're actually ready to start applying for jobs and do their job search, that they might in fact be referred to a job developer or some other job specialist, job coach, and so on. So important to know as part of this process whether you're working with clients all the way through or you actually would be referring to them referring them to someone else. If you're assisting clients, you need to have some good resources to supplement any work that you might do with them. This might mean having a good package of information on how to do resumes. There may be workshops that you deliver or that you can refer them to help them with interview skills and so on. So it's important to be aware of what resources you might draw on to help clients in this stage. Certain activities, of course, that you'd be doing as part of the job search process: creating, customizing resumes and cover letters, preparing for interviews and networking, such as getting their elevator speech together and information meetings, learning to apply online and through traditional means. So applying online is a little bit of a minefield because Almost every organization has a different approach. They've created their own templates and their own process. Some places, all you do is just upload your resume. Other places, you have to go online and answer a series of questions. Some places, you can't upload your resume, but you have to cut and paste the information from your resume into different portions at different fields on their platform. So different organizations do it different ways. Unfortunately, there's no one standard template for how you would apply online. So you might have to help clients navigate through some of that. And of course, through traditional means, putting the pandemic aside for a moment, traditional means might mean, let's say someone is interested in getting a part-time job or full-time job working in retail for the summer. So one of the best ways to do that might be to get their resume together because they're targeting retail jobs. They can probably customize the resume to retail positions, and then they might go to a large mall where they would walk around and drop their resume off. You'd want to, of course, coach them in ensuring that they're dressed properly and prepared in the event that dropping off a resume may lead to an interview right on the spot. So, that might be a more traditional way of going about searching for work. It doesn't have to all be completely online. Another thing you would be helping them with, of course, is following up after interviews and also helping them to create a plan for reviewing and identifying job opportunities on a regular basis. Would they be looking at some of these job posting sites that I'm going to show you in a moment? Would they be looking at these on a daily basis? Would they like to look at them every other day or twice a week, Monday and Friday? So helping them to create some kind of a schedule or a plan for how they would go about doing this. I've often said when I'm working with clients that if someone is looking for work, that it really does need to be a full-time job, especially if they're looking for full-time work. It takes a lot of time and effort to invest, and they may have to apply for a lot of jobs and go for a lot of interviews before they actually get a job offer. So very important to help clients consistently create a plan for consistently working that process through. There are some job search websites out there that are very good, and I'll show you some in just a moment. And some of the sites provide job postings only, which is very useful. People can sign up for alerts if certain jobs come up in certain fields or certain locations. Some other sites might provide job postings along with free resources to help job seekers, like resumes, cover letter samples, and tips. And before referring clients to any website, again, as we've talked about previously, it's very important that you go through any website that you're recommending for clients to be fully familiar with it yourself and ensure that you're clear what features the client might look at and how those features would fit with what they're trying to accomplish. So again, I've talked about the importance of not just having a 2-page long list of websites and links that you're going to give a client, that you're actually going to give them a short list that you yourself have vetted and looked through, and you're going to guide them if necessary to specific aspects of those websites that would be most useful to them. Here's some examples of job posting websites, and I've checked all of these out and they're all still active and working. And I'm not going to go through each of them, but what I want to point out is that I've distinguished between Workopolis and Indeed. They're both job posting sites, so that's all they have. At the last I checked, Workopolis used to have other resources, but it seems like the last time I looked, they had done away with all of that. So these are two sites that clients can go to look at literally thousands of job postings, and they can sign up for alerts on jobs that are there that would be of interest to them. These additional sites have other resources. So yes, they do have job postings, but they also have other resources that can help clients. And it could include, for example, a little assessment tool that might fit with the Who Am I stage. It could include, advice on resume styles and best ones to use, and so on. So all of these sites can produce job postings as well as other resources that can help clients with their job search. Of course, we can also look at old-fashioned books and print resources. These are just 4 that I happen to have on my shelf. All of them are good. All of them would be books that I would recommend for a client. I don't know offhand if any of these are available in digital form. I suspect more and more books are being translated to digital form these days, but they all kind of address job search in a different way. So the Job Search Cookbook is very good, and the Job Searcher's Handbook. These two are, good generic resources that cover a lot of the bases in terms of job search. Then you can look at more specialized types of job search books. So this one, 101 Great Answers to the Toughest Job Search Problems. So it could be that someone, for example, has been out of the workforce for a while. Perhaps they were incarcerated and they are not sure how to address that particular situation if they're going out for job searches. So books like this would cover those types of difficult situations. And then, of course, Job Search Handbook for people with disabilities. There are lots and lots of other good resources out there for people with various types of ability challenges that could be helpful to them in determining things like whether or not to disclose their disability in an interview. So these are just some examples. I mean, there are thousands upon thousands more. I recommend, if you're interested in looking at old-fashioned books, that you do have a look at Career Life Skills, the offerings that they have, as well as GIST, J-I-S-T. Those are both good Canadian publishers that produce a lot of good books in our field. When you're in the how do I get there stage with the client, again, your role is to guide the client through the stage in an organized and step-by-step manner. Some clients will be more independent than others. Some you can just give the materials over and off they go, and they're able to work through the rest of it themselves. Others, you would need to stay with them and continue working with them through this process. Less is usually more in terms of resources. In other words, you don't want to overwhelm the client with online or print resources. Some clients are be like, lay it on me, I want as much as you can give me, but most people do need to have a limited number of resources given to them. So that's why it's so important that you review and vet the resources that you have. So if you're only going to give a client one or two, that you know out of all the resources you know about, these one or two resources are the best ones for them. The other thing to keep in mind, of course, is that if the client is seeking work, you may need to be a cheerleader because it can take many applications for clients to get interviews, and it can take, as I said, many interviews before they actually get a job offer. So part of your role, this is, this part of the process can be tough because clients can do everything right. And they can do it right for weeks and sometimes months on end and not get, maybe not even get an interview or not get a job offer. Some of that is dictated by how difficult the economy is and the type of field that they're targeting and so on. So during this phase in particular, you may need to really be a cheerleader and remind clients, you're on the right path, you're doing everything right, just stay the course, stay with it, and it will eventually pay off and get the results that you want. So I'm going to stop here at the end of this second video, and there'll be a third part 3 for this week's lecture series. So please, when you're ready, after you've had a little break, please go on and review the final and third video in this lecture series.